right. Hi, kids. Nice to see you. There you are. Okay. Where are we? We're at my house. There's my dog. Hi, Molly. We are going to go help my buddy Don today fire up his 37 Ford truck. You guys have seen it before. It's the one I did the rear end in. Anyway, he bought a Holley Stealth system, and that's what we're going to go get fired up. So we're going to drive over there and then work on it, get it running. We'll see how much of that we can actually film. And since we're here, let's do it. All right. Ooh, whoop, hold on. Spectacles engaged. All right. Backing out. Car quiz today. So I asked you, what year did most manufacturers change from 6 volt to 12 volt? And I got a lot of different answers, but the majority of you guys were correct. It was roughly 1955. Some manufacturers are a little earlier and some were later, like 56, but that was roughly at 55. Chevrolet was 55 for sure because of the introduction of the V8. That's not the reason why, but it's because 6 volt stuff was just, I don't know. They were coming down the pipeline with better and more things that needed more capacity, and it's easier to make more potential, or things work with more potential rather than having 2 batteries and run them in series or run capacity that way. They just ran them, ran one 12 volt battery and did it internally. There was some 12 volt stuff earlier other manufacturers had, but and there's some 24 volt stuff too, but that's it. 55. Good job, guys. Way to go. I heard as early as 53 Ford was messing with it. 12 volt stuff, but I think the majority of the stuff was 6 volt. I know 53 was the last year of the flathead for Ford. Flathead V8, everything went overhead valve after that. Let's see. Another car quiz question for you guys. This is a simple one. I have 2 Carter AFBs on this car. What? Let's see. What vehicle? How do I put this? What year and what vehicle did Chevrolet use 2 Carter carburetors, almost this exact same style? And what does, as a bonus, what does AFB mean? And if you knew the answer, when did you learn the answer? Because I know some people that just learned what AFB means not that long ago. Hey, check that out. All right, guys, that's it. That's it for your car quiz. Story time, huh? Well, I'll have to do another one for story time because I don't really have a quick story time to tell you between now and the time we get to Don's house, which is in a few blocks. But I guess we could do a story of Don's fuel injection. I don't know if there's really a story behind it other than he couldn't get the carburetor to run right. He had like a race demon on there. And then that thing did not want to idle properly. But then I think we found some other problems with the fuel. You know, we're turning right here, head to his house. This is Mockwell Avenue, by the way. Look out, son. We're gonna park over here. Ooh, we're gonna pull straight in. We blocking Lisa? No. Ooh, look at that. There's a Ford truck at Don's house. Ooh, baby, look at that thing. There's Don right there. All right, kids, we'll see you in a little bit. And we're back. Scene number 2. Build hot rods, they said. It'll be fun, they said. It is fun, but so the Holley sniper system works pretty good actually. Fired right up after we figured out that, well, here's a key, kids. When you're in the cranking position of your starter, in all reality, your coil and your fuel injection system need to have power when it's cranking. So that's what we had to figure out real quick. Not a big deal. Ron Francis's instructions, I don't know if somebody took the day off. They just had the wire colors confused and you know, whatever. Anyway, so got that figured out. And as soon as we got power to it, I mean, it started before I released the key. And that thing hasn't run in like a year and a half. So pretty cool. So now we are just cruising around. And I thought, why the heck not? Let's just go cruise around a little bit. And I was reminded of a story time. Because while we were there, his neighbor came over. Sorry guys, I didn't show you what was going on with it. But essentially what it is, his computer thing, he did all the wiring and everything and all the fuel checks and everything. And I just had to program it, which is real simple. The instructions are, it's just like setting up your computer. You go into a wizard and the wizard says how many cubic inches or asks for what program. And so you have to tell it it's a Sniper Stealth 4150 series. Select that. It's 8 cylinders. Select that. It starts out default 10 cubic inches. Well, it's 383, so you got to tell it that. And you tell it idle speed 850, and then you tell it whether its ignition is being controlled by the EFI or if it's a CDI box or if it's a coil box, and CDI stands for capacitive discharge, i.e. MSD box or something like that. And so we just selected CDI and that's it. And as soon as it had power, it just boom. As soon as you turn the key on, it primes and fires up. It's fast. I mean, instant. And it sits there and learns after a few seconds. And target air-fuel ratio is 13.5. Idle speed after it hits 160 degrees, then you're allowed to lower the idle speed down. So the throttle blades are set around 1,000, but the computer was trying to bring it at 850. And so after it got to temperature, I just dropped idle speed. That's Mockwell, my town. It's Mockwell Avenue. We're just cruising. We'll head over to Kokomo Road, which is not the Beach Boys Kokomo. We talked about this before. Anyway, so his neighbor came over, and he started talking about, you know, extra parts, this and that come in a setup when you're building stuff, and how, you know, how mean it would be to like have all these extra pieces and parts. And I thought, you know, that reminds me of one of the things I did in high school to some kids. So I'm in Charlie's class in high school, and we're rebuilding engines. And these guys are building a small block Ford, and I took their camshaft away, and I put a small block Chevy camshaft on the bench one day when nobody was looking. And so they were trying to put it all back together, and yeah. But that wasn't nearly as funny. Well, for me, it was hilarious. Charlie didn't think it was funny at all. He did afterwards. He's like, just stop picking on kids. And I'm like, I'm a kid. Why am I going to stop picking on them? They're just like me. They should know better. But what was really fun is we were doing automatic transmissions. And in the valve body, they got all those little extra check balls. Yeah. And these kids were like, it was the two nerdy kids in class. We called him Urkel, and I can't remember what we called the other kid, but they had a 65 Chevy truck in there with like flexi pipe. The exhaust pipe was all flexible bent pipe with these turbo mufflers. And you know, I told you I would go in there and like rearrange their exhaust when they weren't there someday or whatever. They had like honor English or something, so they couldn't make it to auto shop. So I'd go in there, and me and Louie, we would just undo their pipes. And you know, some days it might come out from underneath the truck, And the pipes might just come inside, like in the mufflers hanging inside through the driver, through the windows. You know, and we just would rearrange their exhaust all the time. But these are the same kids that we swapped the meter out in electric class when Louis hit our meter with a stun gun. Smoked it. I swapped the meter out. Charlie knew that was me too, but we didn't get in trouble. Anywhere. Kokomo Road. Look at that. Kokomo Road. Down to Kokomo. Down to Kokomo. Aruba, Jamaica. Ooh, I wanna take it to Bermuda. I can't sing. Come on, pretty mama. Anyway, so now we're on Kokomo. We already went on this road, Giggle Hill. We came this way. Anyway, we were doing automatic transmissions and we were doing valve bodies. And you know, there's only like 2 or 3 of those little BBs in there. Well, I took like, you know, a couple extra BBs and just laid them in their pile because everybody was separating stuff out and all the bolts and all the nuts and, you know, this bunch of clutches and that set of clutches and all the ply pistons and bands and the valve body they took apart. Here's the bottom of it and the plate, and they had the check balls laid out. Well, I threw a couple extra check balls around in there just for fun. I figured they'd get it. They didn't. They spent a long time trying to figure out how to make where the check balls are supposed to go. Which, if you ever worked on automatic transmission and you lose your check balls and don't remember where they go, you can look at the valve body and the valve body plate, especially the plate that goes between the bottom of the valve body and your case. You have a plate that has all the holes in it. You can look in the plate and you'll see the track that the check balls have ridden in, and you know exactly where they go. There's a corresponding one on the plate and a corresponding one either in the case or the valve body. That's the quickest, easiest way. You might have to use a magnifying glass, but you can find where they go, and it takes a little bit of time. And if you count and you got like 3 tracks and you only have 2 balls, so you better go find another ball. And some balls are different sizes. And some balls are held for charity and some for fancy dress. But when they're held for pleasure, they're the balls that I like best. Bonus points if you know what song that is. Oh, look at the ocean down there. So beautiful. Anyway, I probably shouldn't have played a lot of practical jokes like that, but I did. But none of them were nearly as bad as what Louis did to me. Oh gosh, I was working on my satellite and he had his stun gun and I was under the hood of the car messing with something and he came by and zapped me and I jumped up and my hood hit the underside of the hood, my head did, and it moved the hood enough to where the hood prop fell down and the springs are weak and the hood closed with me in it under the hood. I mean, it didn't really hurt, but the stun gun hurt. And I got out from underneath there as fast as I could and I chased Louis around all over the place. Of course, Mr. Norman's like, Charlie was like, hey, quit grab ass and blah, blah, blah. Yes, Charlie, whatever you say. Look, Giggle Hill, that place is awesome. Anyway, that was that story. I was thinking of another story, but I probably won't tell you about those stories. I did a bunch of stuff as a kid that I probably shouldn't repeat, so I'm not gonna. Look at that playground over there. That's pretty cool. 4th Marine Division Park, Giggle Hill. There was a base there, I told you. And this is the hill where the Wahinis and the soldiers would go up there and they'd neck. And there'd be a bunch of giggling. They called it Giggle Hill for a reason. Oh look, there's a guy following me. Oh yeah, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? This is the view I get to look at coming down the hill if I come this way. It's just absolutely stunning. would you go in such a hurry? You're either gonna go to the ocean or the top of the mountain. I mean, the speed limit's like 30. There's a bunch of bumper stickers, you'll see them over here. It says, slow down, this ain't the mainland. It's true, it's not the mainland. Most of us over here don't drive the speed limit. We drive slower than the speed limit. Well, that's not necessarily true. A lot of people drive the speed limit or slightly above, but I mean, I'm never in a hurry, so I just usually go at the speed limit or slightly below. Part of it is I don't want to push the old girl so hard. She's a good old girl. I gotta change the oil in this thing. I started counting up the days since this thing the odometer doesn't work. I started figuring it out. I've got probably close to 7,000 miles on this thing. Man, I gotta change the oil. I mean, for a while there, it was changing its own oil. So, I mean, I'm okay probably for a little bit, but I should change it. Third gear, it's all right. Anyway. Oh, that's what it was. I was gonna tell you guys. Okay, so your car quiz question today. Oh, I already gave it to you. Dang it. I'll have to save it for next time because there's a story that goes with it. So, what other story can I tell you about? I don't know. There's lots of stories. Did I tell you about the time I got in a race with the 30 Model A Coupe and my old 57 drag car that was why I'm redoing this car? I didn't. Well, I'm going to tell you that story. So, my old 57 I got out of a field. It was a field car. Actually, somebody else got it out. Oh, my kombucha. It's my buddy Chris's place. And this is where we started, Haiku Road. We came up this way. We're going to head back through Paia. So anyway, I got this old 5.7, and this is before rat rods are cool. So the way this hood looks right now, without the red, would have been like, you know, kind of the primer, like the red oxide primer, and this white. The whole side of the car was like sanded down, and you could see the remains of, like, you know, the outlines of something special or whatever. And I put some old ET 5-spoke mags on it, and I think I had 5s in the front and 7s in the back. And it had the car ran D-stock, so it had a solid lifter, Duntov motor, the 283. That thing was built. And I put a 4-speed in it because it had a 3 on the floor, and I 3-speed on the floor, and I put a 4-speed in it and just ripped around on it. Hey, look, there's that short box that came up behind us the other day, cruising around. Oh, there's girls driving it this time. We're gonna go this way. Anyway, I was cruising around in it one time, and I just got it running, and they were having a car show on the side of the road. And this is in Boise. It was on Eagle Road, I think was. No, Fairview. And it was in Meridian. There was like a car lot kind of thing, or like a shopping center. It was like a big parking lot. I don't remember what was there. I think it was a car lot. And a gas station or a car wash opening or something. And I was going by, and I looked over and I saw a bunch of cars. I'm like, oh, look, there's a bunch of cars. And somebody like waved me in from the car show, so I went down the street and came back and pulled in, and they're like, hey, we're doing a car show. Do you want to show this thing off? And I'm like, this thing? I mean, it's rough, like this car is rough. It was the same kind of rough like this. But it was nasty. The exhaust was basically headers and old driveline torque tubes slash cut right before the rear end, so no mufflers. It was loud. That thing was rowdy loud. I mean, it was slow, but it was loud. And I pulled into the car show and I backed into the spot next to this guy who had like a 53, I think, Chevy. It was beautiful. And he just had like his nose turned up at me like, oh, he was disgusted that I would park by him. And I said, don't worry, man. My car just makes your car look that much better. And he didn't say nothing. But the inside of my car had like this much of the roll cage still there. It had the plates welded to the floor and like this much of the roll cage, and they just cut it off with a torch. And I mean, the car was rough. It was just bare floors, had some like mid-60s GM, like 64 Impala bucket seats in it. No back seat. This is on a highway, by the way. That guy's gonna let me go. Thanks, boss. Ooh, got a little squeal out of it. Yikes, there was a cop back there. I didn't mean to wiggle the tire back there. That one's for you playing with horsepower. I was at 3,000 and wiggled the tire. Easy, sister, easy. Easy. Anyway, we ended up getting ready to leave the car show, and there was a yellow Model A coupe, had a 454 in it and a tunnel ram, and some 660 center squirter Holleys and a scoop on it. Big meats on this thing. Looked like I don't know, it was rough. I mean, it was a cool looking car, but it was like, it had side pipes. It was a, you know, like the 80s style chop, yellow, high boy, you know, Model A. It's kind of cool. No fenders. I think it had a 32 shell. It was pretty cool. You know, pretty typical, you know, 80s style hot rod. And this lady was driving it. She was super funny. I can't remember her name, but she, later I remember we were teaching her how to do a burnout with it. But anyway, that's not the same day. This day, we were cruising along. We were heading back up Meridian Road, and I was actually heading out towards Cuna, where I lived at the time. And I was sitting at, I think I was Franklin and, no, where was I? We weren't quite over the freeway overpass yet. We hadn't gone over the freeway. So we were right there, sitting there, and I heard this like, and my car was loud. I mean, loud, rattly, choppy, no interior, just sitting there cackling along, and I hear this like, boom, boom. And I look in the rear mirror, and there's this Model A just torquing over, and it's her behind me waving, and I was like, oh my gosh. And then the person next to me like turned right or something, and she pulled up right next to me in the lane, and so we're sitting at the stoplight. It's just the two of us, and she's revving her engine. I was like, fine, I'll rev mine too. And I was like, all right, we're gonna race. And she's like, you wanna go? And I said, sure. Knowing for sure she's gonna smoke me in my little 283. And there's a minivan behind us and somebody else back there. And there's like a bunch of kids, they're like waving out the window. And the light turned green, and I revved that thing like $5 grand and sidestepped the clutch. And I just held it to the wood, and that little 283 just screamed for all its guts out. Smoking the tires, went through the next gear, just, you know, everything I could do, holding that little 290 horse 283. I mean, I held like 6,500 and just was banging gears in it, just screaming. And she's over there next to me, we're flying, and then all of a sudden it dawned on us like exactly the same time. We're going up over the freeway, we're heading up this highway, we're flying. Like we'd gone way past a quarter mile. I'm in fourth gear, flat out, and she's in, you know, had high and her turbo for 100, and we're just screaming, having a good time racing. We're probably doing 100, maybe 105 or something like that, and then both of us at the same time kind of looked at each other and then waved and split off on different roads, because we realized we're out there in the middle, there's no traffic coming, and we're making an awful lot of noise, out here, and there's police everywhere. I don't know what we were thinking, so we bailed, and sure enough, as I turned down the road, I looked in my rear mirror, and a cop went down the highway that way, no lights on or whatever, but like if we'd have kept going over the rise, he would have come right at us. We talked about it later and always talked about having a rematch, but we never did. If you ever hear the surf spot Ho'okipa, well, this is it right here. Ho'okipa. I have surfed there. It is an incredible surf spot. Super fun. They're windsurfing right now because it's windy, but I had a little accident right there, right out there in the surf, right there in that big wave. It was a big one. It was enough to pick me up and set me up in front of this peak over here. I came out of the water over here, right over there. 2 big waves rolled me. It's pretty beautiful. Yeah, it's beautiful here. Oh yeah, here we go. Mama's Fish House. Right, that's a little bay right there. This is where I popped up right out here from underwater. I was underwater for like 70 seconds. It was crazy. My wife doesn't like hearing about that story, so I won't tell it. Coming into Paia. Maui's hysterical plantation town. If you guys come through here and you need some snacks, this little store right here is Kauai store. This is like Kauai, a little town, like a little community. It's right, all this bunch of little, this is Kauai store. Look at all those little surfboards. Cool. You wouldn't believe how much these pieces of property are out here. Owen Wilson lives up here. I won't tell you where. It's rude. But he lives on this side of the highway, on the ocean side, which if you want to learn some Hawaiian, Makai is ocean, Mauka is mountain. She lives on the Makai side of this road. Along here somewhere, and I'm not telling you where. Yes, I have seen him several times. Just like Steven Tyler from Aerosmith. He lives here too, but never ever introduced myself. Coming into Paia, kids. Here we go. What's it like driving this 57 every day? That's a great question. I'll have to answer that later. We've been here before. Anyway, all right, kids. Makawao, my street, my 7 miles. Wailuku, Kaului. I'll talk to you guys about that next time. I'll give you all the ins and outs and pros and cons of driving a hot rod every day, or this particular hot rod every single day. I'll see you guys later. Aloha.